Thank you for joining us for our third speaker series, that there are no trans or non-binary creatives in Ottawa. Before we begin, on behalf of Digi60, we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we are on is on the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Please take a moment to learn about the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation and to learn about their history, concerns, and work as a community. We believe that the path to reconciliation includes learning and understanding these concerns directly from them, as well as the concerted effort for settlers and the government to make active work towards righting the historical injustices that have faced First Nations people. And I would like to thank the Digital Arts Resource Center for their partnership on the speaker series. I would love to introduce our moderator for this speaker series, Lana Poulson. Lana has been a staple in the Ottawa LGBTQ scene since 2004, having been in 2 documentaries about her life, one on YouTube called You're in the Wrong Body, and You're in the Wrong Body, Kid, and another one that came out September of 2019 on CBC titled An Ottawa Burlesque Performer Reveals Her Transition Tale. Lana Poulson is also formerly known as Candy Secret. I think that's how I got introduced to Lana, that's how I saw her performing burlesque. Being Ottawa's first trans female burlesque former performing artist. She's also a special guest on the Jessie and Jenna's Messy podcast. She's also part of a new suicide prevention campaign that will be coming out at some point called Today is Better. She works at Ottawa's Wicked Wanda's Adult Emporium, and she's currently been working on a year-long project with local photographer Ruth Dick on a series called Self-Love. I'm sorry for jumping on my words. It's following her journey after having problems with one of her breast implants and opting to have them both removed without replacements, and the journey of loving her body, scars and all. Thank you, Lana.
Thank you, Mesa. So tonight's guest speakers, we have Evelyn Sifton. Her pronouns are she, her. An electric for one department, Evelyn studied media studies at the University of Ottawa and attended the Austin School of Film before starting her career in Ottawa. She's a strong believer in the power of media to shape social change. Our next speaker is Charlii Mack. Their pronouns are they, them. Charlii Mack is an actor, voiceover artist, screenwriter, and producer of independent film in Ottawa and uses they, them pronouns. They are previously known as Karen McNeven. They began their acting career late in their mid-30s in a community theater in Smith Falls, where they lived and, hold on. In their mid-30s in a community in Smith Falls, where they lived and discovered their extreme passion. Charlii's acting resume is padded with many different roles, some comedic, dramatic, and horror-related, but the one enlightening role, the shoe that finally fit, was their dream role, that of Charlie Chaplin. Staying in character even when the cameras were off was deeply affirming for them. Our next speaker is Munea Wooded. Pronouns she, they. Munea Wooded is a multidisciplinary artist who works with watercolors, acrylics, digital materials, and more. They are a queer, non-binary person of color who often dabbles with identity in their work, exploring issues such as racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and fatphobia. Munea's art helps deal with their trauma and inspires them to continue healing from it. So our first question is, what were the major challenges and also major triumphs of defining yourself as a creative? Charlii, you can go first.
Okay, one of the things, because I started doing this mid-30s, was age discrimination. That was a big challenge for me because male-dominated roles were generally allowed to be older, and then female roles had to fit this, desired female role, long hair, pretty face, that kind of thing. So, and always usually a decade younger than their counterparts.
I found the biggest challenge for me was, especially breaking into union and large scale production, was it's still very much a boys club, especially an old boys club. It's a lot of old cis het white men, and it is changing. Ottawa is actually really good in that our crew have more women than most other cities. It's amazing whenever directors or producers come in from other cities and they're like, "Oh my God, you have half your crew is women. This is crazy." So it's changing, but it was definitely a fear going into it. Also for myself, I was the first trans woman that a lot of people I've worked with have ever met. So just kind of navigating both trying to work professionally and educate people when, you know, they aren't as informed is definitely a struggle as well.
Munea?
It's Munea.
Oh, sorry, Munea.
It's okay, no worries. Yeah, so I had, I guess I had a few struggles when I first started out, like selling my art. I guess just like the type of art I do was mainly like the issue for a lot of people. Like I had like trouble getting it into different spaces because they were just like, oh, we don't want like something like political or something with like, I don't know, like nudity or things like that. So I had a lot of issues with that type of stuff. And it's like almost like I had to go into spaces where it's kind of like niche, like where it was like the space for that type of art. So it is hard because of like the type of art I do to like go into like kind of more mainstream spaces. But I think things are slowly changing.
It's amazing how we're slowly changing that the queer subspace is becoming mainstream. Like we're getting there. Would you say you've noticed that?
Yeah, I think so. I think over the past couple of years, definitely I've seen like people like being more involved and coming out more and just being more willing to participate in those spaces. And
I recently finished a film and it aired, I think it was CBC Gem, called The Christmas Setup. And it's a like Hallmark style lame Christmas movie, but it was queer. We had two male leads who were actually married in real life, which was really cute. And it was great to see something that was, you know, typically mainstream, these, you know, cookie cutter Hallmark Christmas movie, but to see it queer, it's not, you know, it's not the best shift. We're still kind of these cookie cutter art, but it was nice to see queer representation in the mainstream. And then hopefully we can kind of use that to push things further and push things along.
Okay, so the next question is, what is some advice that you wish you were given when you were first starting out? Munea?
Yeah, I definitely wish that someone told me to just start. Just do it. Like I think I waited so long. I was so hesitant. I was like, no, I'm not good enough. Nobody likes what I do. Like it sucks. But yeah, I just wish someone told me like, do it. Like, what do you have to lose? Just start. So yeah, that's definitely something I wish someone told me.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I started out and I was totally green. So I would say do your research. Don't be so impulsive or desperate because you get sucked into scams. When I started to pursue acting, I kind of jumped at the first offer of representation, and then they said, okay, well, you got to use our photographer and pay so many hundreds of dollars. And then there was this big breakout competition in the States so you could get picked up by Hollywood directors. So of course I jumped on that too, lost thousands. So I would just basically say, trust your gut. And that's, I wish that I had somebody just say, you know, like just stop and think about it just for a few minutes. Yeah.
Almost a little bit on the opposite. I wish I'd done more indie stuff. So I jumped right into working, you know, network shows. So Lifetime, Hallmark, Oprah Network. I wish I'd done more indie. I wish I'd done more of that. Obviously at the time it wasn't really an option, but I wish I had done more indie, more queer niche film, you know, done more in the community instead of just jumping right into big network, you know, content. Something it's still possible to do down the road and something maybe I'd still like to do more of, but it's something I wish I'd done in my earlier days was more small, fun, passion projects as opposed to large network productions. And I wish I'd started sooner. I like put it off for years. I didn't start my career in the film industry until, well after I graduated from university. It wasn't until I had a Vice team follow me around for 4 days to do a documentary that I was like, I want to do what you guys are doing. Why didn't I do this? Because I was so focused on like trying to like finish university and get an office job instead of being like, no, there's work to be had in the creative fields. So I wish I'd, jumped into creative fields sooner, really.
And what do you love about your the work that you guys do?
What do I love about it? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things I like about it. I like that it's something that I've been, just kind of keeping for me for a long time, but now I'm ready to share it with other people. I'm ready to share who I am, how I feel about things, how I've figured out all these things, and how I just kind of want to let it out. I like how it makes me feel after I let it out. Like I'm just like, oh, like this is why I was so confused about who I am and everything I was going through. And it just feels good to kind of share that through my art with other people. And I like hearing that other people are like what I do. Yeah.
What about you, Evelyn? What do you love about your job?
I love the people I work with. So our crew is around, depending on the show, 40 to 100 people on a crew for our shows. And for the most part, we're really fortunate in Ottawa to have really good crew. Our electric team in particular is, majority of our team is queer women. And this is with one department that I work for. A majority of our electric team is queer women. We've just created like a really tight-knit group that, we're working on set together, where, when we're not on set, it's the people I spend my weekends with. And then, some of those people I work with too, we have actually started doing those indie films that I was saying I wish I'd done. So, we're paying our bills shooting these big budget shows for the networks. And then on our weekends off, we're, going out and shooting our own little passion projects. So just kind of having that opportunity to network and just meet so many other creatives in such like a big space is fantastic.
That's amazing. Charlii, what about yourself? What do you love about your work?
Oh, I love the fact that I get to play so many different varied characters. I mean, one day I could be playing, a man, and then the next day I could be playing, this killer clown, this psycho killer clown. It's just, it gives my creative penchant to just have fun. But I mean, that's the thing, like with independent film, having filmed a couple of my own scripts as well and short films, and meeting everybody in the Ottawa community. Because I mean, I moved here from PEI, so I didn't know a lot of people for so many years, that kind of thing. So it was really late coming in, but I mean, everybody I have met has been extremely supportive. I probably didn't even have the courage to come out without my acting community support.
Wow, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Our next question is, how do we continue to build Ottawa's communities of underrepresented creatives?
Well, the thing is, it's breaking boundaries and misconceptions and stuff. I mean, a lot of the things with the good thing about independent is, I mean, if there's something that's not represented, then heck, I'll just write it. I mean, that's one of the great things about independent filming is, I mean, you can put your own script forward and film it and give people opportunities. I just wish that, people were a little bit more open, and they are getting there. Don't get me wrong, but I wish they were a little bit more open to doing, crossing gender roles, or even just making them obsolete.
I very much agree with you. Like, I think like the next big step would be just more, and I'm going to talk about it again from just a major network perspective, more queer representation. So I did my first film, as I said, last winter, with 2 gay male leads, and that was fantastic. Okay, now let's do more of that. I would love to shoot something with a trans character eventually, or a non-binary character. That would make me so happy. That would be a dream come true. But even just filming an LGBTQ movie, I cried at the end because I was like, this is what I set out to do. Like, I want to work on shows where, the people who aren't getting represented are. And as much as they're lame and they're hokey, that's normalizing. To have queer characters in a cookie cutter Christmas love movie is normalizing of it. It's not pushing boundaries by any means, but it's with those little things that are like, hey, this is normal. And like queer people can have cute, lame, cookie cutter Christmas movies, just like everyone else. And I think that is so important. And then I think it really is owed to the indie community who, take the risks in producing these indie queer films. And then, when those do well, the networks see it and they're like, oh, we want to get in on this. And so they start doing these major network queer films, and it's fantastic. So I think we definitely owe a lot of what we do to the indie scene and the progress that's happened. The other thing, in terms of just getting more representation on the sets, I think the union has been a big move for us in Ottawa. So for those that don't know, Ottawa recently joined IATSE 634, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees. And with that, when you're union represented, it kind of weeds out nepotism. So it stops the old boys club of film, and it, better employment, better benefits for those who are working network shows. And so that opens up opportunities for more diversity in the workplace.
For sure. I mean, I know from watching Hallmark movies like years ago, and it's just like, why isn't there anyone like us on screen? Like, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I guess I'm kind of in a different field. I'm in like the visual arts field. I do watch a lot of films. I love movies, especially like independent stuff with like queer representation and different identities in them. But yeah, in the art scene, I don't know, I still think a lot of people, especially in Ottawa, face a lot of challenges. Like, I feel like the art scene like doesn't have a lot of inclusion of like Black, Indigenous people of color, especially like in the bigger galleries. Like, I think there is like a lacking, unless they're like a token for like Black History Month or whatever. Like, I think there isn't really enough representation of Black, Indigenous people of color in the visual arts scene in Ottawa that I've seen, that I've been part of. So I'd really like to see like more of like a push for representation, more of a push for change in those areas. What was that part of the question? Like,
oh, the question was, how do we continue to build Ottawa's communities of underrepresented creatives?
Okay, yeah. So I would just say, like, have more push for more representation, and there's no reason why like we shouldn't be featured in all of these things. So yeah, definitely have more of being more vocal and pushing more for that.
Yeah, no, there definitely should be.
If I may jump on that a little, actually, there's a great project right now. I'm sure many of the creatives watching and y'all might know about this, is Hire BIPOC. It's a great website database for staff like looking for crew, whether it be for an indie or a larger show position. And so that is a fantastic website. I've been checking that, and I'm just waiting, like, please, if you're in Ottawa, put yourself on that website, because I'm checking it and I'm looking for, like, we're looking for crew. Because yeah, like, we want to be more represented, not just on screen, but also just in the crew working behind the scenes. I would love to see a bigger push. So if you're watching this, you are interested, get yourself on Hire BIPOC, because the producers in the city do check it.
So we've got a question from Emily Ramsey. What can Ottawa film and art spaces do to be more trans and non-binary exclusive space?
Oh, inclusive. Sorry, I heard exclusive and I was very confused.
Right.
Inclusive. Okay. I would love to hop on that. Again, this is from a network/union perspective. Recently on One Department shows, we actually started doing some sensitivity training and diversity training. I think that helps a lot. Just for the people, for those old guard of film, as I said, the old white men, the old boys club of film, we still have to work with them. They're still around, but getting them kind of just a little bit more aware, because these people aren't going to go out and do that research on their own.
Yeah.
I shouldn't generalize that much. Some do, but a lot of them don't. And so having it, we had a mandatory 1-hour session during a film shoot. Like, we paused production for an hour, set up a projector, and we watched and participated in a diversity and inclusion seminar. And I think that's something that every network production specifically should be doing, because it covered all things from gender, race, sexuality. So it was nice to see that done. And I think that really created a better space on our sets.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good for like the film and art spaces to, what's the word? Like, promote people who are already like non-binary and trans people who are already doing the work. Like, they exist, there's a lot of them. And I think just promoting them, giving them more exposure would help. It's just like, they're there. Like, it's not like they don't exist. So I think that would be really helpful. Yeah.
Just in terms, I guess, in just opening up roles for, us specifically, like just giving opportunities to kind of, and again, it goes to promoting too, right? I mean, in a roundabout way, just being able to, be ourselves instead of hiding behind, makeup and false lashes and things. Well, in my, like, for me anyway, it'd be very liberating. It'd be great.
Awesome. So the next question is, in a world where governments are trying to regulate us, i.e. conversion therapy debates in Canada, states' laws, and accessing hormone therapy, etc., what role can film and media play in sharing experiences and shaping the future of queer art?
I think, again, film and television, or film and media, etc., the arts can serve as a tool to normalize. A lot of people we're still not at more and more people are getting exposed to queer culture and queer people, and gender nonconforming and trans people. So it's the more people see it, and especially in, normalized contexts. So, your typical TV shows and just queer characters who their storyline isn't just being queer, queer characters who have a storyline aside from just existing as a queer character. That's a trope that needs to change, especially in network shows. A lot of the queer characters, their story is just being queer. And as much as those are a great introduction, and those stories do very much hit home, and they have a point, I would love to see more queer stories where the queerness is not the story, or their trans or their gender identity is not their story. It's, part of their identity, but their story is independent of that. Their story is, they go on some epic adventure, or they fall in love, or, they face a challenge that is not to do with their gender identity or their sexuality. I would love to see more of that in terms of just normalizing it, and like, characters, we don't exist for our stories about our identity. We can be more than that.
Yeah, a bit of a conundrum again. It's I guess really honestly at a loss in terms of how to respond exactly to that, because it's almost like I got nothing that one.
That's okay. Munea?
Yeah, I kind of want to jump on what was said before of sharing people's stories, like more than just, your identity, but also about like, I'm tired of seeing like stories of like queer people just suffering all the time. Like, I want to see like happy, uplifting stories, different things. Like, we've seen enough of like all the like really shitty things that happen to queer people. I think when you grow up just watching that, you're just like very discouraged and like, is that what's gonna happen to me when I grow up? Like, it's just very sad. And I think you know, like there needs to be more of a push of like stories that just show, you know, like that, like it's not just like, you know, like this like turmoil and sadness. Like it's about just like, you know, we're just regular people. And yeah, like happy stories I think really help people like uplift their experiences. And yeah,
I am tired of crying every time I watch a queer film.
exactly.
Like, I remember watching CSI Las Vegas, like so many years ago, where they had trans characters and they had this whole, like, you know, a trans woman had surgery in like, what was it? It was a storage room or something like that. And it was really tragic. And, you know, they had other characters that like were murdered. And I'm like, you know, like, this isn't always the case with trans people. Like, it's not always sad. It's not always like depressing. And it's not always about like someone getting murdered. I mean, yes, it happens, but like realistically, like we have jobs, we go on fun dates, we hang out with friends, we act, we sing, we do a bunch of stuff. It's not always like, you know, super depressing.
A favorite movie of mine, it is depressing, but I do love it because, you know, in the end, she like comes out just this badass woman, is Laurence anyways. Don't know if any of y'all have seen it. Brilliant French film, but it follows this woman through her transition. And yeah, like shitty things happen. It's very much the trans experiences. It's not always the best. But at the end, she just comes out this like really badass woman who like really knows herself and is really confident. And I love that movie. That movie really shaped. That movie I watched really early after coming out, and really helped change my life, that film. So I would love to see more films like that about, you know, trans people, you know, more like self-realization and self-confident and yeah, in those sorts of roles.
Sorry, I was just gonna say one of my favorite movies is Boy Meets Girl. It was on Netflix for like the longest time, and it's one of my favorite movies. It follows a trans love story, actually, with two best friends, and I won't give the plot away, but it's a very good movie, and you all should watch it. What were you gonna say, Charlie?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm just going to out myself as a Trekkie. Okay, so having them introducing that non-binary character into Star Trek was really kind of awesome, being a Trekkie. But I mean, even in shows Australia, Wentworth, and having non-binary character in there as well. I mean, it's kind of like, yes, all right, that's awesome. You know, it's kind of uplifting. I like it.
Yeah, like I think I already said a bit about just having more positive stories. I don't know what else I'd like to add. I guess, yeah, just like having more of like a range of different types of trans and non-binary people that can exist. And because, yeah, like I don't think like I would have identified as non-binary if I hadn't met like another non-binary person. So I think just having like a range of different types of stories and different types of genders helps too, because there's just like it's more realistic. Like there isn't, you know, everyone experiences gender differently, and yeah.
Totally. So I'm gonna end off with our last question, question. Shout outs. Who else should we know about and work with?
Okay, so when I started out and I was filming my very first short, I had an amazing crew that I got together, like through meet and greets, and met them. And then there was this one fella, Stephen Lorne, and he was a gamer and like did like game visuals and stuff. And it was his first time actually shooting and doing editing for my short film. And it kind of went from there, and now he's fully immersed and doing fantastic in doing sound. I mean, he's doing sound for out of country. He's doing it for Hallmark movies. It's just been fantastic, and I think it's it's somebody that I could always rely on for good sound. Because I mean, one of the things that I find with a lot of films, especially independent films, is sound quality can make or break a film. And he's just got amazing equipment. So if anybody has the opportunity to work with Stephen Lorne, I'd take it.
Yeah, I have a few shout outs I want to make. I mean, I'm not really in the film scene too much. Like I would obviously give a shout out to my dad because he's like a director. His name is Saiful Wadud. So he's more in the film scene and he does really interesting documentaries. So I definitely give a shout out to him. As for like artists, I would definitely love to give a shout out to two artists that I really enjoy their work of. Horror Hall. They're like a Black artist, non-binary, and they make really amazing art. And there's also Rustling Pine or Cole. They make like Indigenous art. So their art is really cool too. And I just really like those people and their art. And yeah, there's a lot, but I can't think of like too many people off the bat. Those are just the first couple of names that came to my mind, but yeah.
Obviously, I'd love to shout out to one department. They pay my bills, they keep me employed, and they gave me the opportunity. You know, they took me in fresh out of, actually, I didn't even finish film school. I was back for the summer, and working before I went back down to Texas to continue my program. They took me in, specifically the gaffer, David Rajcik. He's fantastic. He's taught me, so much more than film school taught me. I actually ended up not going back. He's like, no, stay. I will like teach you everything more like apprenticeship style. My whole team there, I love them all. I love my team. And that production house in general, the fact that our crew is 50% women, the fact that, our electric team is mostly queer women, like that's almost unheard of, especially in like the larger network for grip electric teams to have women on the team at all is a big deal. So I really love what they've done in the city here. IATSE 634, again, our local union, just for the, nice to have some protection when we're working, to have benefits like everyone else working their day jobs. Well, not everyone else, but those fortunate enough. So we're happy that we're fortunate enough to have that. People I would recommend working with, as I said before, David Rajcik, the gaffer I work for and with a lot. Jessie Doucette is a fantastic. I see that Charlie's giving me a thumbs up, so they've worked with her before. I work with her. She's on the same team as myself at one department, and I know she does a lot of indie, as well as acting and lighting and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, I could list names forever, so I'll like try to stop myself there for now.
We have a question from Emily. Can Munea share some info about Beyond All the Colors and the journey they've had with their dad in making the doc?
Yeah, I can share a bit. Yeah, I mentioned a bit before how my dad's a film director. Yeah, he and I started working on this like film called Beyond All the Colors. And it's kind of like, I guess, like a autobiography / documentary about us. And it's also about just like how different we are, like him growing up, outside of Canada, in Bangladesh, never being exposed to like queer and trans culture or anything related to that. And then suddenly like him just sort of with his relationship with me, figuring all that stuff out and learning all this stuff, things like going to Pride, things he's never really done before. So Beyond All the Colors is kind of like a journey of like self-discovery, but also discovery of me, I guess. So yeah, it's passion project of ours. And yeah, we've been working on it. Like you can like check it out on, I think he has like an Instagram and it has a Facebook page. So you can follow those social media pages if you want to keep up with what's happening with Beyond All the Colors.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Actually, Lana, you can answer this too. I'd like to know what your future holds? You know, where do you see yourself going with your, you know, your journey? You know, what do you hope to see for yourself in the next few years in your artistic work?
I would love to do some acting. I think that would be hella fun. Because I like the camera and the camera likes me. Other than that, just like be creative and, you know, do more fun, creative things with my job. And yeah, maybe do some modeling or something like that. But I definitely wouldn't mind getting into acting. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And be able to do sort of that.
Well, my immediate future is my top surgery next month.
Oh.
Excited about that. And then I guess kind of reintroducing myself to the Ottawa acting community post.
Are you nervous about it? Are you nervous about it?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I'm really scared. But you know what? It's like, I mean, I'm 45 years old. I'm kind of beyond caring. I just want to finally just be me and be accepted regardless. And hopefully with more inclusivity, I'll be able to get roles that are more geared towards, you know, to me personally, as opposed to very female type roles. Yeah.
With like the independent community, like,
Yeah.
you know, like influencing the independent community to kind of create more roles that way instead of the just female male kind of roles, right? Kind of opening it up, you know. Awesome. Evelyn?
I mean, sorry, I'm just gonna like touch on that a little bit. Hallmark and Lifetime keep sprinkling in like queer characters, even if they are side characters, or with the exception of the one show that was, you know, our like LGBTQ film. They keep sprinkling in queer characters. So I would love to see some sprinkled in, you know, trans and non-binary characters. Please, if you're listening, if anyone's a script writer, write some scripts, even if they're not the main character, sprinkle them in there because that helps. That's something, it's a start. I love seeing it. I love in our scripts, even if it is a side character, I'm always just like, yay, okay, I feel a little bit happier working on this movie. I got so distracted by that, I forgot the question. Oh, what's next? Sorry, I came off working overnights all week, so I am so tired. I'm on my weekend, but
long hours, right? You guys get long hours.
13-hour days, 5 days a week on studio shows. Next for me, I'm slowly making the transition from Best Spark to gaffing. So that's
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think some people might not know that terminology.
Yeah. So Best Spark is also called the assistant gaffer. And your job is the power management. So the generators, the laying the cable we use a lot of power on these big film sets. And also maintaining the equipment. So all the lights, all the ballasts, like maintaining and keeping inventory, as well as rigging for sets. So, you know, the Best Spark will set up with their team, will set up the set, and then the gaffer will then come in and run set while, you know, we run off and pre-rig the next set, or do inventory or whatever it is we do. And then gaffer is the one who is on set, you know, telling their team, you know, okay, we're going to put this light here, this is going to go there, working really in connection with the DOP to light the scene. So it's a little bit more artistic rather than the Best Spark is a much more technical job, much more similar to a trade. The gaffer is much more on the artistic side. But you need to learn both. So that's why most people go, you know, work their way up to Best Spark and then to gaffer, because you need to know the gear in order to do the artistic part. So you need to know what's possible and what each piece of gear is capable of and how much power it uses, because yeah, running out of power or blowing every breaker in a house when you're trying to shoot is not a good idea.
But when you went to film school, like, was this what you wanted to do? Go into lighting, or were you looking to, you know, filmmake or, you know, direct and write?
I've never been, so film school was a great way for me to figure out what I wanted to do. Shout out to, sorry, I forgot to shout them out. Shout out to Austin School of Film in Austin, Texas. That is where I went. I love them. They do online courses, so we'll recommend that to anyone. film school was a great way to find out what I wanted to do. Because I went in thinking, maybe I want to edit, or maybe I want to direct. I don't know. Let's, that introductory year where you do everything because you're working on every other student film, and you're all, picking up different credits on each other's short films and indie work, gave me the chance to figure out, like, okay, I am terrible at directing. I can't be mean to actors and be like, oh, I need it better. Like, I can't say that. I'm like, no, you were great. Let's move on. I'm too shy to like bring up like possibly hurt an actor's feelings. I was like, okay, I'm a terrible director. Let's write that off. I found out I really don't like sitting at a computer for, more than an hour, 2 hours. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to do editing. I am pretty deaf in one ear from, I was a drummer all my life. So I was like, I am pretty bad at sound. Okay, let's scratch that one off. And as I, tried out all the roles, electric and lighting just felt the best to me. And so that's where film school was such a blessing, in that I got to figure out exactly where I wanted to go with my career. I also found out I was a terrible scriptwriter. To then apply my skill. And I really liked the more trades, hand-on part of the job. And so then I was able to tailor my career towards that field.
That's great. Munea, what's your future hold?
I don't know. I have like a lot of ideas. Like I do run like an art business where I sell like stickers, patches. Like I do want to expand my business and like go more variety of things like shirts, totes, be part of like kind of larger.
What's it called? Plug your business.
Oh, my business is just my name. It's Munea Wadud. It's just my full name. Yeah, I just went simple with that. So that's my business. I definitely would like to expand. Like I'm in like a couple of places in Ottawa, like the Ottawa Art Galleries, like gift shop and like Victoire Boutique and stuff. But I definitely want to expand more and have more stuff available. I also want to work in different like materials. Like I've been dabbling in like digital art for the past couple of years, and I do want to someday like make like an animated series, or like even just like something independent, or even like a comic book, because I like writing and reading. So I definitely want to combine all my passions and sort of make like some little combined babies out of them. I'd love to just continue pursuing my art in different directions. Yeah.
I remember when your dad was in the Pitch It workshop for Digi60 with me. He was so proud talking about you. It was super, super cute. And that's when we got to know a little bit about you, actually, was there as well, and about your artwork, and we got to follow like some of the work through that, and I love to see that how much you've grown, and I love looking at your artwork. And we have like I think met before at a different festival with all your artwork. So if you have a website, I would recommend you plug it into the chat so people could follow you or go and purchase some of your items.
Sure, I'll put it in right now.
Lana, I'll let it back to you before we close.
Closing words would be thank you to all of you guys for joining this amazing talk, chat. Where do you see yourselves in the next 5 years?
Hopefully, fingers crossed, that I will be able to actually film my first feature script that I wrote. Hopefully, in an ideal world, yes, it would. But I have this really amazing longer short, about 20 some minutes is probably what it would come out to. But it's actually, it's around homelessness and stuff, which I think is really important as well. So I'd really like to be able to film that. So if anybody's interested in jumping on board and reading the script, let me know.
I guess I don't have like specific things in mind, but just continuing to expand myself as a creative and as an artist. I haven't been doing this for like too long. I think I've only had my business for maybe like 4 years. So I'd like to like expand it more and maybe like go beyond just like kind of the community and niche kind of area that I'm in. Maybe go more for like bigger galleries and bigger spaces that feature art. Yeah.
I'm going to circle it right back to the things I wish I'd done at the start, which I could maybe start doing more of now, in that I would love to get to a point in my career where I can start being picky with what movies I do. So I would love to work, specifically on gaffing, queer or trans stories. It was such a huge deal for me to be on, my first network show where it was queer main characters. I would love to do more of that. I would love to get to a point where I can be picky and, only do those. Like, I would love that we have enough representation in media that I can make a career of just working on those shows. I would be so happy. But yeah, that would be it, to be at a point where I can start being pickier, work on more queer content, maybe do more passion projects. Yeah, more indie, more fun.
Awesome. And I will answer the same question. In the next 5 years, I would like to do more stuff with Wicked Wanda's Adult Emporium. I love my job and I love helping people. And I'd also like to do some, acting in maybe a web series or, something with film, who knows?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our third speaker series. There are no transgender or non-binary creatives in Ottawa, where we scratch out there are no, because obviously there are. And this will be posted on YouTube shortly after, where you can share the link, you can rewatch it as well. Thank you to all our panelists, to our moderator. This has been super enlightening, and these conversations are always so great to have. We love listening to them. We love having these conversations, and they're so important to have because we don't have enough of them. So thank you for sharing all your experiences and your knowledge. If you have any kind of social media, please put them in the chat if you'd like people to follow your work. Make sure that you put panelists and attendees so it doesn't come just to the panelists. I would like to thank the Digital Arts Resource Center for their partnership on the series, our team at Digi60, Hingman, who is my partner, who is producing this, who is behind the scenes, doing all the tech work. Thank you so much, Hingman. And thank you to everybody who has joined us today.
Thank you for having us.
Have a great night,
Thank you
everybody.
to everyone who watched.
Thank you.
Thank you.